Good morning, world CLE. Good morning. Friends, it's a great pleasure to prepare this preparation so that we can guide you to the morning lesson up. We titled it The Sukkah of Connection. Between us and us, we have learned a lot about the Sukkah, the holiday which aimed at to connect us and we build the screen above and we connect through with each other so that we come to the revelation of the upper force. And at the same time here everything depends on our connection, our love, and in this assembly so the accept which is following will be explaining a lot about how when we assemble how we should behave and how this assembly is going to guide us to the goal. So it's important to open our heart and be connected with this, and through this connection we can reveal the force that we are expecting for a long time back to please. Excerpt number 1 from the essence of the assembly is for everyone to be in unity and for all to seek but one purpose, to find the Creator in every 10 divinity dwells, and certainly if there are more than 10 there is more of the revelation of divinity. Thus each one should gather with his friend and come to him to hear from him a word about the work of the Creator and of how to find the Creator. He should annul himself before his friend, and his friend should do the same towards him, and so they will all do then when the assembly is with this intention. Then quote, more than the calf wants to suckle, the cow wants to nurse. End quote. And the Creator approaches them and he is with them. Get again. Excerpt number 1 from the essence of the assembly is for everyone to be in unity and for all to seek but one purpose, to find the Greater in every 10 divinity dwells, and certainly there are more than 10. There is more of the revelation of divinity. Thus each one should gather with his friend and come to him to hear from him a word about the work of the Creator and of how to find the Creator. He should himself before his friend, and his friend should do the same towards him, and so they should all do. And then when the assembly is with this intention, then quote, more than the calf wants to suckle, the cow wants to nurse. End quote. And the Creator approaches them and he is with them. Okay, so we're going to enter now a workshop, and we know how important a workshop is. It really establishes and sets the mood of the environment for the lesson, where we uplift each other, where we feel, we begin to feel where we are at and how we need to direct ourselves towards this lesson. So let us try and be our best examples to each other, where we lift the spirits of the friends, and this 10 is really our SU. It's the society, this environment that we achieve the goal of attention with the Creator friends. So let's really set a good intention of this unity and this connection in this workshop that we're going to do now, and where we direct this will to receive to a form of bestowal where we connect with the Creator as one. So the question is, how can we during this period of suck transcend our egoistic nature and annul before our friends? I'll read that again. How can we during this period of Sukkot transcend our egoistic nature and annul ourselves before our friends? Let's go, man, to invest in the actions of connection and inment and the prayer to the Creator, and to invite the Creator's help to do it for us. Yes, it's truly above our nature, as we have no ability to transcend nature, but only through mutual support with the friends, turning to the Creator with the common cause, common request to continue our connection in the lessons in the 10 meeting in the Su, and include everyone wherever they're from all the world CLE with no exceptions. Yes, especially now in Sukkot, but also in general work is always the same. It's just that now there's this spirit of the attack, especially after the meeting we had yesterday, just to continue, just hit it again, make an effort to adhere to the Creator, show an example within and without, and to continue that spirit of the attack. We have to feel more and more that in every gathering we go under some common screen, common force. We ask to be kept from all the disturbances of the will to receive, and make sure we ultimately don't forget who it's coming from and who we need to turn to. who sends us everything, who sends the shade, who brings the light, and organize ourselves with respect to these things. It's kind of this constant work, but now there is an opportunity, there's some opportunity from above to take advantage of these forces even more. Yes, we learned that in the time of Sukkot there are very powerful illuminations, powerful lights, and the shadow comes from above, also to help us to be an old, to connect, and to make more inner efforts to create the vessel. So we just have to make use of that. What a great opportunity it is every morning to hear the friends scrutinize and hear them lift another and make a big flame out of the sparks. And so from this workshop we go to the exit of a rush, and it reminds us of how dependent we are of one another, how the friend's success is my success, and how we can reach the success. So if we can go back to the reader in P, and he will do us the honors to read this article. Second source excerpt from Rubbish. Each of them had a spark of love of others, but the spark could not ignite the light of love to shine in each, so they agreed that by uniting the sparks would become a big flame. Again, each of them had a spark of love, but others the spark could not ignite the light of love to shine in each, so they agreed that by uniting the sparks would become a big flame. Shall have it, dear friends. Thank you very much. It's all about disclosing our love to another, so let's have a good intention in this workshop question by just opening our heart towards the friends, and let's increase the desire to connect with the friend's heart, only to disclose the creator or the upper force. So let's open our hearts more and more to have a good touch with the upper force. Read the active workshop question. It says, let us ignite the sparks of love between us as we enter the lesson. Again, let us ignite the sparks of love between us as we enter the lesson. I will ignite, yes, I'm a lighter. It's not me, truly only need to incorporate together and with the source who ignites us, lights us up. Our work very simply is to come here and to open our hearts. That's it, only to open our hearts. There's a momentum felt from all the society, a wave of our effort in prayer, in an attitude of love. So let's ride on that collective motion and try to add as much as possible. Yes, in the love between us, the greater is the love between us as a corrective force, a healing force in it. What else can I say? Have faith that we truly we can love and ask the Creator for help. So becomes the help we see from the Creator, which is awakening the love between us, is the clearest action that we can always push and go in that direction. Yes, with an open heart to feel all of the friend's efforts, to see how the Creator is manipulating everything, organizing it so that we may sit together in the lesson and ask to be in one heart in the power of the silent meal we had yesterday. This force without words. Let's ask that each friend in the world will feel at the force of connection, the force of prayer, all of our efforts we need to use. We need to pat it, to wrap it up with gratitude from every direction. Gratitude because there's a burning fire in each friend. There's a spark, and we just want to connect those together, and is felt to be so close. The Creator is giving us more opportunities with every moment, real opportunities, and the whole group is in that spirit, and we need to make that gratitude the foundation. Right, we settle for what He gives us. We just want more power to thank Him. Much gratitude and much, I don't know, joy for being together, for having each other. Hard for me to imagine this reality without this thing called 10 PT5 silent workshop. Let's enter connection in one heart and feel the Creator there for the last minute or so. Friends, so let's enter connection in one heart and feel that the Create today. A.D. Hello, we should be reading from the writings of the SHTI. Article 6. What is waste of ban and winery? In the work you can find all of our texts on Kabbalah Media, Thought Info, as well as through the A platform where you can ask us questions live. Anyone asking a question here in the study hall is requested to stand up, hold the microphone close to his mouth, and to speak loudly and clearly shamarty. 96. What is waste of ban and whinery in the work? Go a ban is male judgments as in, quote, hidden and not defiled, end quote, when he feels that he is in the state of gorn ban, meaning a girl, a stranger or a person who's not yet converted in the work. A winery is female judgments as in, quote, hidden and defiled, end quote, why winery is considered any foreign, and there are two kinds of sukkot, clouds of glory, and to the waste of ban and way. A cloud is considered concealment when one feels the concealment over the holiness. If a person overcomes the cloud, meaning the concealment that one feels, he is thus rewarded with clouds of glory. This is called man of Im, which applies during the 6,000 years. It is considered a secret, for it still has not come rather for it still has not become nature. Called literal. The waste of ban and winery are called literal or simple, and nature, which is considered man of mal, corrected specifically through faith, called an awakening from below, and man of Ima is considered an awakening from above, which is not discerned as nature. This means that with respect to nature, when one is not ready to receive the abundance, he does not receive any bestow. However, from the perspective of the awakening from above, which is above nature, the light is indeed poured to the lower ones by way of, quote, I am the Lord, who dwells with them in the midst of their impurity, and, quote, as it is written in the Z, quote, even though he has sinned, it is as if he did not sin at all, and, quote, however, with an awakening from below, the light is not dispensed, rather precisely when one is qualified by nature, meaning by himself. This is called man of that he can correct through faith. This is called by himself considered the 7th millennium, called and one which is ruined, meaning that, quote, she has nothing of her own, quote, which is considered. When this is corrected, one is awarded with the 10th millennium, which is such a soul is found in one of 10 generations. However, there is the discernment of the 70th millennium from the perspective of the 6,000 years, called but particular, as the general and the particular are always equal, but this is considered minor, called clouds of glory. The purpose of the work is in the literal and nature, since in this work he no longer has room to fall lower down, since he is already placed on the ground. This is so because he does not need greatness, because to him it is always like something new, meaning that he always works as though he had just begun to work, and he works in the form of accepting the burden of the kingdom of heaven above. Reason, the basis upon which he built the order of the work, was in the lowest manner, and all of it was truly above reason. Only one who is truly naive can be so lowly as to proceed without any basis on which to establish his faith, literally with no support. Additionally, he accepts this work with great joy. He had real knowledge and vision on which to establish the certainty of faith, and to that exact measure, and to that exact measure of for reason, to that very measure as though he had reason. Hence, if he persists in this way, he can never fall. He can always be in gladness by believing that he is serving a great king. This is the meaning of the verse. Quote, the one lamb you shall offer in the morning, and the other lamb you shall offer at dusk, according to the meal offering of the morning, and according to the drink offering thereof, end quote. This means that the gladness that he had while he was sacrificing his sacrifice, when it was a morning for him, as morning is called light, meaning that the light of Torah was shining for him in absolute clarity. In that same gladness he was making his sacrifice, meaning his work, even though for him it was like evening, meaning that even though he did not have any clarity in Torah in the work, he still did everything gladly, since he worked above reason. Hence he could not measure from which state the Creator there is more contentment. This is the meaning of our Shimon ben Mania saying quote a kind of matter means without reason, and knowledge quote an ear that heard on Mount C will not steal, and quote this means not receiving anything for oneself, but rather taking upon oneself the burden of the kingdom of heaven without any good loot, greatness, but entirely above reason. And he went and stole some illumination for himself, meaning he said, now I can be a servant of their Creator because I already have reason and knowledge in the work, and I understand that it is worthwhile to be the Creator's servant, and so now I no longer need faith above reason. This he says, quote, and he was sold to the court, and court refers to man's reason and knowledge, which judge a person's actions whether or not they are worth doing. Was sold means that he has become a stranger in the work of the Creator. At that time the mind comes to him and asks him the known question, what is this work? And it only comes from the side of theft, having received some support to the faith. Hence he comes and wants to revoke the support with his questions, but this is only for 6, meaning he was sold for 6 years, considered male judgments male denim. But if the servant shall say plainly, I love my master, I shall not go free, and quote meaning he does not want to go free without commandments, then the correction is his master shall bring him, end quote, meaning the master of the earth, to the door or to the doorpost, end quote, meaning that he gives him a blockage over the reception of the kingdom of heaven, quote, and his master shall bore his ear, end quote, meaning that his ear is pierced, meaning that another hole is made in him, so he will be able to hear once more what he had heard on Mount C, quote, you shall not steal, and he shall serve him forever, end quote, and then he truly becomes a servant of the Creator. So quote is temporary residence. This means that one who has already been awarded permanent residence and has nothing more to do, as with the matter of the first two count the iniquities, the advice is to leave for temporary residence, as when he was on his way to the house of God before he arrived at the permanent resident. At that time he constantly needed to reach the Creator's home, and he had guests when his work was in the form of, quote, a passing visitor, end quote, and now he can extend from the past work. He was always thankful and praising the Creator for the Creator always bringing him closer. From this he had gladness. Now on he can extend the gladness he had. Then this is the meaning of temper residence. This is why they said, quote, leave the permanent residence and dwell in a temporary residence, end quote. The learning is not what is most important, but the ACT, end quote. This means that an act is like substance. Ari Shimon ben Mania was saying, quote, a kind of matter, and quote, that the ACT is the most important, and the mind is but a kind of a mirror. However, the ACT is considered animate living, and the mind is considered speaking. The thing is that if there is wholeness in the act, then the ACT is so great that it brings with it the mind of the Torah, and the mind of the Torah is called speaking. What are we doing? Can, yes, how not to fall into a state of being happy about something, becoming these as already have something, so we can be happy about it. How to always be in a state of renewal. Yes, that's a question. G, like he says, according to the order ban winery, the waste and what we scrutinize, and then we get results. What does it mean that if a person cannot find something new in the work, he needs to go back and search for what he had before? We usually say we don't do that. So what does it mean to take from that? But it didn't scrutinize things, probably did not scrutinize, and therefore he must, I would read again. So again, we should read Article 96. What is waste of ban and winery in the work? A ban is male judgments, as in, quote, she was hidden and not defiled, end quote, when one feels that he's in a state of gone ban, meaning gil a non-con convert in the work. A winery is female judgments, female den, as in, quote, she was hidden and defiled end. Quot Wyvin is considered ni, ho, and there are two kinds of Zucot, one, clouds of glory, and two waste of ban, and twiner a cloud is considered concealment when one feels the concealment overthuser, holiness, and if a person overcomes the cloud, meaning the concealment that he feels, he is thus rewarded with clouds of glory. This is called man of I am, which applies during the 6,000 years. It is considered a secret, for it still has not become a nature, called simple or literal. The waste of ban and winery are called pat, and nature, which is considered man of mal, corrected specifically through faith, called an awakening from below. IMA is considered an awakening for an above, which is not discerned as nature. This means that by nature, when one is not ready to receive the abundance, he does not receive any bestow. However, from the perspective of the awakening from above, which is above nature, the light is indeed poured out to the lower ones by way of quote, I am the Lord who dwells with them in the midst of their impurity, end quote, as it is written in the said quote, even though he has sinned, it is as if he did not sin at all, end quote. However, with an awakening from below, the light is not dispensed, rather precisely when one is qualified by nature, meaning by himself. This is called man of, as he can be corrected through faith, and this is called by himself, considered the 7th millennium, called quote, and one was ruined, meaning that quote, she has nothing of her own, and quote, which is the aspect of mal. When this is corrected, one is rewarded with the 10th millennium, which is G. Such a soul is found in one of 10 generations, once every 10 generations. However, there is the discernment of the 7th millennium from the perspective of the 6,000 years, called plat or particular, as the general and the particular are always equal. This is considered man of IMA, called clouds of glory. The purpose of the work is in the literal and nature, since in this work he no longer has room to fall lower down, since he is already placed on the earth, on the ground. This is so because he does not need greatness, because to him it is always like something new, meaning that he always works as though he had just begun to work, and he works in the form of accepting the burden of the kingdom of heaven above reason. The basis upon which he built the order of their work was in the lowest manner, and all of it was truly above reason, and only one who is truly naive can be so lowly as to proceed without any basis on which to establish his faith, lit with no support. Additionally, he accepts this work with great joy, as though he had real knowledge and vision on which to establish the certainty of faith, and to that exact measure of above reason, to that very measure as though he had reason. Hence, if he persists in this way, he can never fall, rather he can always be in gladness by believing that he is serving a great king. This is the meaning of the verse quote, the one lamb you shall offer in the morning, and the other lamb you shall offer at dusk, according to the meal offering of the morning, and according to the drink offering thereof, end quote. This means that the gladness he had while making his sacrifice when it was morning, for him as morning is called light, meaning that the light of the Torah was shining for him in absolute clarity. In that same gladness he was making his sacrifice, meaning his work, even when it was the aspect of evening for him, meaning that even though he did not have any clarity in the Torah and the work, he still did everything gladly, since he worked above reason. He could not measure from which state the Creator derives more contentment. Shimon, this is the meaning of Rabbi Shimon ben Man saying quote, a kind of matter, end quote. Matter, substance, means without reason and knowledge, quote. An ear that heard on Mount C will not steal, end quote. This means not receiving anything for oneself, but rather taking upon oneself the burden of the kingdom of heaven without any cute greatness, but entirely above reason. And he went and stole some Asian for himself, meaning that he said, now I can already be a servant of the Creator. because I already have reason and knowledge in the work, and I understand that it is worthwhile to be the Creator's servant. Now I no longer need faith above reason. Of this he tells us, and he was sold to the court end. What court refers to man's reason and knowledge, which judge a person's actions whether or not they are worth doing. Sold, but he was sold means that he has become a stranger in the work of the Creator. The mind comes and asks him the known question, what is this work? And it only comes from the side of theft, having received some support to where faith. Hence he comes and wants to cancel the support with his questions, but this is only for 6, meaning, quote, he was sold for 6 years, end quote, considered male judgments, quote, but if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, I shall not go free, end quote, meaning that he does not want to go free without commandments, then the correction is, quote, and his master shall bring him, end quote, meaning the master of the birth, quote, to the door or to the doorpost, end quote, meaning to make a blockage over his reception of the kingdom of heaven, and, quote, his master shall bore his ear, end quote, meaning that his ear is pierced. This means that another hole is made in him, so he will be able to hear once more what he had heard on Mount. See, you shall not steal, end quote, and he shall serve him forever, end quote, as then he truly becomes a servant of their Creator. Scott is temporary residence. This means that one who has already been awarded permanent residence and has nothing more to do as with the matter of the first to count the iniquities. The advice then is to leave for temporary residence, as when he was on his way to the house of God before he arrived at the permanent residence. At that time he constantly needed to reach the Creator's home, and he had guests when his work was in the form of, quote, a passing visitor, end quote, and now he can extend from the past work, when he was always thankful and praising the Creator for the Creator always bringing him closer, and from this he had gladness. Now on such he can extend the gladness he had. Then this is the meaning of temporary residence. This is why they said cleave the permanent residence and dwell in temporary residence, end quote. The learning is not what is most important, but the ACT, end quote. This means that an act is like a substance or matter. Our Shimon ben Mania was saying, quote, a kind of matter, end quote, that the ACT is the most important, and the mind is but a kind of mirror. However, with that the ACT is considered animate or living, and the mind is considered speaking. If there is wholeness in the ACT, then the ACT is so great that it brings with it the mind of the Torah, and the mind of the Torah is called speaking. Tough, it appears that there is some action from side of the lower one called manicure, by which he can correct the vessels of faith, but this is what the lower one has to do. What is that request? The man of Nuker, what does he request? He's asking for the true vessels by which he can achieve the place to truly bestow and to overcome the judgments of Nuker, which is the hiding of the foreign, as he says. If to put it in a person's words, as the person speaks, what would he say? Inner in human words, that he would look for the true deficiencies in his work. Such complete man is that something each one of us can produce, or only when we connect the 10 together, join them together only, then, yes, to join oneself to the 10, and then you'll feel the true deficiency more real in a person's work, with those vessels that he feels in. Sukkot, man of Nuker, how is this more real than what he had when he didn't come to the permanent residence, yet he was praising the Creator, helping him, and now he has a new kind of work. What does it mean? What does it mean that this work is more real? What's more real about it? He discovers a deficiency that is true, deeper, that if he corrects it, then he is rewarded with from judgments of envy to judgments of and all the degrees until the 10th millennium. The main thing for us is that we have to know that we have to connect between us and connect to the Creator without any Limitations. Before, when a person does his work, he says that he praises the Creator for bringing him closer every time, but now in Sukkot he's in a state of holiness and confidence, and he needs to come out of that feeling, from that feeling where the Creator is always revealed, and to create a shade, and from that he receives greater joy. Why? Because then he's not limited. The moment he receives, he's limited in his vessel. In awakening from above, there are limitations in his attitude to the Creator and the Creator's attitude to him, whereas if he rises above that, then he has no limitation. So being free of limitations brings him more joy. The lack of freedom, meaning he can adhere to the Creator without any condition. And what was the condition limiting him? Before he was dependent on the Creator, but under some condition. What was the condition? These judgments of female and male that was putting limits on him. In what way of judgments? That he can't reach that degree. What couldn't he do or bestow? He couldn't bestow, not by the work of bar and work of winery, yet so he comes to a degree where he can truly bestow. Yes, and before that it's just preparation. Yes, thank you. Okay. Matarota kind of story. Here where a person hears do not steal on Mount S, and then he can't do it. He does steal, he gets some support for his faith, and then there's this process where he's sold to foreigner, and then his ear is pierced, and he can receive faith. Where does this all begin? What does it mean to hear thou shalt not steal on Mount? See well that he can't hear, but on Mount See he heard thou shalt not, but he cannot do it so well. That's how it's called. So what is the beginning of hearing not to steal? That he can't receive this instruction from above, not yet, but at what stage does he hear that command? Yes, and then from being sorry for not hearing what he hears, meaning he hears, but he can't hear these judgments, these that it's truly prohibited, and then he has to do several more actions, until through the waste he comes to a point where he finally listens. We also hear advice from love. Often every lesson we hear connect. We make some effort, and we're not always successful. Yes, but each time there's something to it. Each time there's a little bit of progress. What is the correction for that? How to reach a true proper connection. Also we talked about attacking over the holiday. That's what the Creator has to sign on that. That's how it's called, that the ear heard over the Mount Sinai. Well, soon we'll hear that more. We'll feel that more, and we're on track in any case, but this degree is a high degree. We should respect the states that lead to it. Good morning. It seems that for the first time he is awarded with a permanent, rather a temporary resident. No, rather permanent residence. Does it mean he's awarded with faith? This is supposed to lead him from a state of fear to a state of love. Yes, and now there's fear. He's stealing because he reached this very nice degree of a permanent residence, and now the Creature wants to bring him to a state of love, but he cannot avoid stealing. Yes, even though he can't avoid stealing, how does he use this theft correctly so as to ultimately return it to the Creator? Because the fear is there's this fear that even in fear he can fall down, he can fall further. It's only by prayer, because the Creator puts him to a great test in the state. And how do I translate this permanent residence to my 10? I see my 10 as a permanent residence. Yes, and what does it mean to leave the permanent residence? I can't leave my tent. No, it becomes this something even higher. The 10 is a temporary residence, becomes something higher. Yes, thank you. That's thank you very much. The state of Sukkot, the time of Sukkot. Was this developed from above downwards, or is it something that we carry out from low upwards? We go into such connections between the only in our work before us. It didn't exist in the preparation. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Of how in this whole process can I become a true servant of the Creator? He describes the way we work here in order to become true servants of the Creator. What does it mean to be a true servant? That you keep all of the rules in there. Work he talks about opening ones. Hearing, we heard about the opening of the eyes before as though our 5 senses we develop in such a way where it's no longer they're no longer working according to our nature but according to the Creator's nature, so we can hear everything the Creator wants to tell us and we can then bestow back upon him. So I want to ask, what does it mean to open the ears in this process? To open our ears meaning we can hear what the Creator wants us to hear. So what's the difference between me making an effort from below, awakening myself from below, or like a fool, as he says, receiving everything the Creator gives me? So you're not understanding what the Creator tells you. So I'm asking, which is better? Because here he says that matter is without mind or reason. So how is it better to work without mind or reason? That too. So if I look at my work without mind or reason, right, how can I reach the true knowledge that I can rise above this and reach the reason and of the Creator? So you already have the impression of how to work without mind and reason, and you're going to open your mind and reason through these actions as much as you approach the work as if you have no mind and reason. Everything follows the force of bestow. Now this whole process produces degrees in the measure the faith, yes, clothed in the clouds of glory and all of that. Thank you very much. Yes, please, how can you be in faith above reason without any real basis on which to rely, to accept the work on the lowest form as he writes, and still to be happy in the work as though he has certain knowledge? This is called above reason, that I enjoy and I am filled by bestowing, by working, and it's all above reason. Faith above reason fulfills the person. Yes, is it a state of joy? Yes, what does the joy stem from fulfilling what the Creator wants? So what does it mean that he doesn't have revealed basis, that this is the most lowly work? It sounds something lowly. On the one hand, a person is still not with a mind's vision on what he sees, but on the other hand he's doing the work as by way of bestow. Is this lowly work contemptible work in the eyes of the will to receive? Certainly, but the person receives some satisfaction from working above reason. If he has such vessels, then yes. And what motivates him to continue going above reason more and more? If he still has an opportunity to advance in that, then I would say it's Sarah. It's already well, it's a gift from above. The person adds so as to continue going above reason, only qualifying the vessels of reception for pistol. Okay, and US looking for indication that we're going above reason. Is that a forbidden? Say it again. When we look for signs to see that we're going above reason, something to hold on to, is that forbidden? Is that wrong? Basically, that seemingly takes away from the cleanliness of the work. So we need to look for nothing. How can we if we are vessels of reception? So what does a person hold on to so as to climb above reason that's received from above? It's the matter of their clouds. Okay, so again you say it's a gift. It comes from above, it's a gift, and we receive it because without it we also can't advance. But we use it only in order to think and appreciate and raise the Creator. So who receives that gift? Those who can work with the cloud. So what happened before? So that he received that gift because he probably deserves it from his efforts that he can be in concealment. Okay, what are those clouds that arrive? It's concealment on behalf of the upper one. Yes, and what should he do? Then he has to try and receive that in the right way, that he's thankful for it, and he goes above it, meaning that the concealment itself doesn't cause any harm. Okay, so just to understand the terms concealment from the upper one, clouds, is that from above reason? Yes, too. That too. Yeah, alright, thank you. What do we correct? What do we correct in Sukkot? Which vessels? Vessels of ball, I'm asking, because usually we say that we correct them in Kanika, half of the vessels, and then Pim is the end of correction. So what's the difference? What do you correct? Here you're right, it's not a simple question. Students in the what we teach asked that, and I didn't really know the Answer in. Sukkot we acquire a screen over our vessels. Bestow that a person begins to work with, and that's it, that's what we acquire in. Suot, it's a correction of bestowing in order to bestow, yes, and then there's the correction of receiving in order to bestow, yes. So what's canuker, then what's the difference? There also you correct the vessels of bestow, so what's the difference? Yes, between canuker and sukkot, yes, it seems you correct the vessel of pistil. In both cases the difference is that suot comes to us from above, and canuker we get there from below. What? We will have to open this up more, it's not that simple all right. Kenny says that in the end one is awarded with the mind of the Torah, and we know that the mind of the TW is opposite to the mind of the landlords. From thinking about what he can receive for himself begins to think about what he can take upon himself, namely the burden of the kingdom of heaven, and he says that in order to breach that he needs to see that he serves a great king. So what does it mean that a person sees his missionary life as being the servant of a great king? If he comes to these core actions, then he receives an awakening and an illumination from above, and that's the Creator being revealed in him, because he already has vessels to receive the influence of the Creator from above. This is called receiving, revealing a great king, and the king wants something, and it's the commandment of the king, and if you observe the commandments of the king, it means that you're serving him. Yes, and the reason for keeping those commandments is the greatness of the king, yes, and no other reason, no other reason. How can you receive from another reason from above? Because if you can excuse that you're doing this commandment for this or that reason, then it's not because of his greatness, it's because you understand what needs to be done, and you know. So the king is great, who determines that the person can determine all sorts of things, that the path is great, that the teacher is great, that the friend is great, and then if he ascribes importance to those things that he sees as great, and he promotes, he advances the whole process. So what's so unique about determining that the Creator is great? That person feels that the Creator is great, that's it. And what kind of feeling does he have? Vessels of bestow, that the quality of ball is the greatest thing in reality, is that it, let's say. So now there was another condition here. It's written, and he serves him forever, meaning a person has to determine that this at acquiring the quality of pistil is the most important thing, and forever, there's no going back. How can a person determine something for all eternity? Every morning he gets up, wakes up different. This is no longer the state that you're describing. This is a state that a person can already see the degrees that are in front of him and determine that where is truth. The secret of the two-way is to bring a person to the feeling that his purpose is to be the Creator's servant for all eternity. Yes, okay, David, all right, yes, David. He says that there are two kinds of suot, two very different states on different degrees. What do we celebrate in Sukkot? The clouds of glory or the waste of ban? And winery, more accurately, we celebrate the clouds of glory, which are summoned by the waste of barn, and winery meaning in the from the greatest light. But he says that the clouds of glory are awarded with the work you're awarded with, that in the work of the 6,000 years, and the waste of ban and winery, you get that in you, that brings you to the 10th millennium. Working with the 10th millennium starts the proc. I don't understand. No, I want to say that the 10th millennium comes to us in vessels of the 6th millennium. What does that mean? That within the same vessels that we acquire to begin with, we also attain in them greater coarseness, and by that they become vessels of the 10th millennium. Another question, please. So this term, the end of correction, we talked about Purim, is that the 7th millennium, the correction is concluded. Difficult to explain according to these breakdowns, asking in order to understand, because we have this series of holidays, and then Suddenly there's Suhwer on one hand. You have the clouds of glory, which does sound logical part of this is process, but then there's something that speaks about after the end of correction, or the end of correction, or every holiday in some respect also appears in the final correction. Therefore that's how they determined it. I'm very impressed, inspired by this holiday, and what it depicts. There's just no words, no vessels. Yet yes, because it's all in B2. Thank you. Yes, for the first time I heard about the transition between concealment from below and concealment from above. Here it's the same as Gilad's question about thou shalt not steal. One who follows the path certainly steals. Maybe he has some excuses where he has understanding, but doesn't he limit his above reason? Is that the correct way to see it? Yes, if he's not capable, then he steals. So on the path, even if I have answers and excuses that I can give myself, or whatever things you need to always increase this above reason. Yes, before the end of the article, right before the end there's a sentence saying Sukkot is a temporary residence, meaning that one who's already awarded with a permanent residence, as nothing more he can do. Advice for him is to go out to a temporary residence and serve the Creator as though before being awarded with a permanent residence. So he wants to be awarded with a permanent residence. What does it mean to be awarded with a permanent residence? Permanent residence meaning a reflexially of connection with the Creator. So he has some connection with the Creator, and now he just wants to enlarge this vessel. Every time he increases it means that he's in a temporary residence. So, but we are not yet in a state of permanence, or are we? Of course not. So what do we do? What does it mean in our work to receive this permanent residence? And what is the temporary residence? Well, that depends on the extent to which each one can envision it to himself. Good. Yes, a person gains vessels of bestow. He can feel some taste in the world because of the greatness of the Creator. So with what power can a person work in bestow for the sake of the Creator before acquiring the vessels of bestow? How the Creator holds him before having vessels of best. Yes, now in Sukkot there's this feeling that we receive an awakening with which to work. Can bestow, but it's coming from the upper one. How can we maintain that awakening? You receive some kind of impression, some kind of example of what it feels to be a little bit above the go. So how to maintain that after Sukkot? As well, after this impression is it vanishes only by strengthening the connection between us. Know that's it. All right, you too. Yeah. So but how to purify our reason for working, because a person cannot erase the knowledge of the Creator, that the reason that he gains, and he knows that the light always shines from above. So how does he make the cause of his work more pure? Whatever he does, this knowledge, this data is already written into him. Right, what do you want? You want to answer that question. Wait, did you hear what he asked? So you're not participating with us. Again, I'm asking, how can a person purify, cleanse the motivation for his work? He doesn't need to clean the reason. These questions, these challenges from above, he doesn't need to clean that. What? For he's checking what motivates him to work, and then he sees that he has some knowledge of the Creator from before, and he relies on that, and he knows that the will shine on him whatever may happen. So it's all fate. There's something here. Isn't? No, that's not how it is. A person receives an influence from the Creator, and with that he goes forward. Does he need to rely only on what right now he's receiving from the Creator, to focus on that as though everything else never existed, was never created? Well, no, not to that extent. But yes, he has to make such an effort. These efforts later become the screen. All right. What else? We have another article 97 which can expand upon this subject, or we can move to the next thing. Wait, the matter of the waste of ban and winery. Yes. Okay, continue. All right, so let's sing a song and then continue. Please open your heart and let the light shine through. Open your heart and all our dreams will come True with every fee who, every there's a song above the doubts above the right, and the wrong. Uniting hearts will rise on wind of a prayer when all is said and all is done. What is left? Open your heart, let the light shine through. Open your heart, and I will open mine. Your heart, and let the light shine through. Open your heart, and all that dreams will come true. Take a breath and fall into your embrace beyond myself to a better place. Uniting hearts or rise on wings of a pray when all is said and all is done. What is left? Your heart, let the light shine through. Your heart, now open mind to your heart, let the light shine through your heart, all that dreams will come true. Kaboda. We are reading in the writings of BAM. The article is Articles of SHTI. Article number 97, Waste of Ban and Winery. SHDI 97, Waste of Ban and WI means diminution of good deeds when a person feels do not throats or not deficiencies with the Creator. Hence he lessens the good deeds. Afterwards he comes to a state of winery, which is, and he that blasphemes the name of the Creator of the Lord. Sukkot is considered gladness, considered rejoicing. G, which is repentance from love when sins become for him as merits. Then even the ban and winery are admitted into Kisar. Holiness. This is the meaning of Sak's primary discernment, being Isaac, although everyone is included in him, and Passover is considered love, which is right. This is the meaning of Abraham begot Isaac. The issue of father and son is cause and consequence, reason and result. Had there not been a discernment of Abraham first, which is the right, there could not have been the discernment of Isaac, which is the left. Rather, the left is integrated in the right, as in, for you are our father Abraham said, will be destroyed over the sanctity of your name. And Jacob also said that it means that the sins will be destroyed over the sanctity of your name. And if it remains so, then there is a breach in the middle. In other words, the sins that were in the whole of Israel are like a breach in the holiness. Isaac, however, said, half over me and half over you, meaning the part of the sins and a part of their mitzvah, meaning that both will enter. This can be through repentance for an love when sins become for him as merits. In that state there is no breach, as it is written, no breach and no outcry, but all is corrected. Or this is the meaning of the words of our sages, greater are the dung and mules of Isaac than Abi, money and gold. Dung is something inferior, worthless, meaning that they consider the servitude of him as dung. Afterward there arrives a state of separation because he does not appreciate his work. He falls into separation. This is called the dung and mules of Isaac. Since Isaac corrected everything in the form of repentance from love, and his sins became as merits, profits that had come to him through his dung and mules are greater than Ab's money and gold. His, which is money or silver, means longing for the Creator. Zav, gold means Zav, give. This meaning craving for the Torah to attain the Torah. Since Isaac corrected everything, meaning achieved repentance from love, the sins too were considered for him as merits, and then he is very rich in any case, since in observing mitzvah commandments there are not more than 63 mitzvah, but sins and transgressions are endless. This is why Isaac became rich, as it is written, and he found 100 gates, meaning that he had 100% in without any waste, since the waste too was corrected in him. This is why the thatch of the sukkah is made of waste of ban and winery. And you can say that what our sages said, that Moses became rich from waste. Hence Sukkot is named primarily after Isaac, who is rejoicing. G or G, Thite, and Sukkot is named after Moses. To what else can be added, please? Please, Ken. Yes, what falls into the category of what are our judgments? I'm speaking from the perspective of our work, that we have forces to overcome. What is the work that he's talking about? That Isaac does. Then we work with the desire to receive in order to bestow, so the will to receive in order to receive awakens, and then what do we do with it? We invert it to become in order to best. And why does it rejoice? He says that rejoice, delight, because there are great corrections. Say it is mainly Isaac, yes, but he also says it's also about Moses. Isaac is in Vak and Moses. Thank you. Okay. Yes, what does it mean to feel deficiencies in the work? Deficiencies and more than usual must. This ISS diminution of good deeds. How can I tell myself that I'm doing good deeds? What is a good deed? An act of bestow everything that I measure with respect to bestow, and love is a good deed. Yes, and how do I test myself that it's deficiencies up? You measure them, you weigh them. If they're the usual regular ones, then that's what they are, but beyond that you see that these are these deficiencies. So any addition where I make an extra effort. Yes, thank you. What's the difference between and Isaac? Why, for the Creator and he earned for the Torah, it sounds holier and more respectable than Isaac. So why is it said that we should respect the work of Isaac more? Because when you look at it, has it, he yearns for the Lord and yearns for the Torah. Yes, so why do they say that the work of Isaac was immersed in deficiencies? What's respectable about it? The work upon the says, I understand that the work of the Creator should engender relation to the Creator until the sins become love. You have to come to love the Creator. So has it, he yearns for the Lord, he yearns for the Torah. It's all that we want to have according to what's written. You're right, but I don't know everything that's written. Yes, thank you. Good morning. When we read what we just talked about, what I felt was that it allows me to be more open to the friends in terms of the deficiencies, in terms of the changes they will go through, and all those aspects of not knowing what the future that will be, to give more credit to all those states. It was like a little hammer. That's how I felt. Okay, Sak. You. Yes, I'm trying to understand about the correction at Isaac did called repentance from love. He says compared to Jacob. Jacob said that their sins, there's a breach in the middle, because the sins that were in all of it, Israel, were like a breach in the holiness. But Isaac said half on me, half on you, meaning part transgressions, in part it's thee, and both will enter their holiness, and that can be through repentance from love. What is repentance from love? When Isaac turned everything around by that a great overcoming, Isaac overcame all the degrees of the will to receive, and Ak is the left line. That's the work with revealing the left and the done and the meals. Yes, in regard to the vessel. Yes. Ken, yes. Friend P9 has a question. He's sick, so he can't be here physically. He's on the screen. Where is he? He can show himself to us. Okay, can you hear me? It says here there are, in observing the commandments, there are only 613, but there's no end to the transgressions, and again it says that there's no end to the 63, there's an end to the 613 commandments, but transgressions and sins are endless. So can you explain that there's like a mine here? You can mine endless wealth. No, I can't. That's how. It's how can you begin to work with this? Begin to take such transgressions and sins and correct them. Correct as much as you're capable. You don't have to go for everything, or for you to have everything in your pocket. Yeah, that's clear, but practically, how do you begin this work? What does it mean to find a transgression or a sin that I can work on there in you? They're being revealed, and you start connecting to the friends, and you will see the extent in which you didn't even look in that direction. So the work is to make an effort to connect with a friend and discover I can't, or discover what blocks me, and then ask for it. Yes, thank you. A key one. It's written in the article that all it is a state of joy, repentance from joy. He also brings Isaac as an example, but in the previous article we read that we remember all the assistance we got from the Creator in the past. So how should we remember the assistance we got from the Creator? Correctly, I can't tell you, I think it works out on its own. We get to it, and it works out on its own. All right, what shall we do? We have a sets about the well, it's not a lot, right? So let's do a little transition and move to the next part. So now we will read selected excerpts on the topic of the 7 guest selected excerpts from the sources. We are in excerpt number 1. Bias interpreted the matter of the guest that it is a matter that is produced in the Zara way by which to pass for the light of cannot shine in it. Consistently, this is the meaning of luck. That sun's life and nourishment depend on luck as written in the study of the 10. This comes from the words water will pour out from his buckets. Pouring means that it is only dripping, meaning it illuminates intermittently, whereas a stream means illuminating ceaselessly. For this reason the guests love that he will have a spacious place, but when they come and the place is narrow, they cannot enter. This means that the light of cannot shine unless by clothing of, and is called wide, as explained in the study of the 10. The light of is called. Therefore, if he has no, it cannot clothed. Questions none. All right? Yes. What is luck is a sign for success, if you're asking that way. That's the way it's customary here in the excerpt. What kind of an explanation is it about? Luck is there. It's a permission to illuminate below. That's it. Thank you. Next, excerpt number 2 from Zorfer. All those for species are the guests. They are the 7 the holy people invite on this day as we pray during the days of Su. Prior to the meal, and say, come you high guests, they must be found, because he invited them, and one prays a prayer to the king in them, and he attains them through the for species which imply this spirit. Yes, yeah. Any questions? Next, you want to ask, what does it mean to invite guests? What are we liking that we invite on? Suat invite guests as he wants more guests to come, she with which he can disclose more, reveal more joy and respect the Creator. So what are guests in our work? What a person invites all kinds of forces, that by which he opens himself more and comes, connects himself to the Creator. Can we say that guests are forces we invite in order to connect between us more? Well, that's different. It's different here. He needs to equip himself first with the qualities with which he comes to some contact with the Creator. So what does it mean that we need lot of so that the guest will come? Which is light, birth. Yes, that's usual. There's nothing special here. What's a preparation from the perspective of their lower one to invite his guests to be in vessels offered? What determines the width of the vessel that's needed? This depends on the desire there is in the vessel. We can work on it endlessly without guests coming over. I don't know. Should it be in incongruence with what kind of lights you want to have? What kind of? Probably any light of that we want to. Close, we have to have light of there. Probably yes. So how do we identify? It says if the of determines in advance what will be, so we need to work according to that. How do we do this in the connection? What does it mean about connection that the level of light of we make here suits the light of the question is correct, but simply from the deed itself as we measure the work between us. Is it within reason? Can we measure it? Or is there a measure of above reason? Here I think above reason, as we need to be connected in order to receive the upper guest, and that's above reason. Yes, what does it mean to work on the connection? Above reason, that I try to prepare myself for the reception of the upper force in me, in my vessels. Therefore, I assemble them, connect them from what I received from the Creator. Yes, of you. First of all, thank you to the study material team for preparing a very impressive document about are they qualities. Yes, qualities of what? Qualities of the vessels that connect in order to be suitable for the revelation of the Creator. So are there several groups, several forms of revealing the Creator, and each of them is a quality or an attribute. How does it Work. What's the difference between what exactly are these attributes? They're the qualities that the polite builds inside the general will to receive. And is it something permanent? Is it? I know it changes, but it's something we need to learn. And what does it mean to invite? Invite an attribute. What is this act of inviting? To be ready for the reception of new qualities is called to go towards the guest, and it's a guest because it's something that comes and goes. It's not permanent. It's like the permanent residence and the intemporary residence. So I have many attributes that I'd like to have and I don't. So what does a person do? Does he aim? Does he ask? Does he pray? What exactly is the a person should basically simply relinquish his own desire in order to be in a desire that is willing to accept, to assume, or to reveal the Creator, the greatness of the Creator. But a person doesn't have the ability to aim towards quality 1 or quality 2 or quality 3, or does he? Can he ask for a specific quality? He turns to the Creator and greater will complete what he, the Creator, changes him from quality to quality. But a person must be willing and wanting, meaning but also in the concession of a person or the inment of a person. There's something that characterizes those qualities. Yes, thank you. Okay. Next, excerpt number 3 from Zohar. For all Abraham is the root of it in the souls of Israel, since he is the one who corrected the holy divinity into a receptacle for the light of He received that for all the souls of Israel in their fullest. Had it remained so, all of Israel would have been adhered to the Creator permanently, and the holy divinity, the holy, would be the house of Mal filled with every delight and pleasure, and not a single person would wish to depart from her for even a minute. However, Abraham's entire correction consisted of making a complete recept for the light of, without any possibility of a flaw. In other words, he elevated the holy into bestow and contentment upon our Maker, and to not receive anything for our own delight, for this is the quality and the receptacle of the light of. It is written about it, anyone who says what is mine is yours, and what is yours is yours from their word, for he does not demand anything for his own pleasure. Yes, that's the quality of Abraham. Questions? None. Yes. Or can we somehow balance the quality in the 10? After all, each has different degrees of, or even all. Then can we do something common? And if someone's missing, can you complete it somehow from their connection? If you connect, if you want to bring yourselves to a common vessel, then of course so there'll be a common. Yes. And how does this move from one to the other? Then you will see to what extent it's possible. When we work on the incorporation, how does a person come out of his qualities? And how does a person receive these advantages that friends have? Because really, friends have many things that a person doesn't have, so you need to be incorporated with all the friends for this. And then on one quality you want to adhere to, you have to bow to it, and in the opposite way, and one will help it. Friend, how can we give from ourselves to others? You can give. You can give only by only what you can, only where you can relinquish yourself. There are other concessions you need to make here, and then you connect. Thank you. Yes, he says that the measure of is mine is yours, and yours is yours. We say that, and when it comes to necessities, there's no too much or not enough. So what does he have to? In that case, what does he have to share with others, and what is necessary? It's the calculation of how much I need to relinquish and connect with others and direct ourselves toward it. I can't explain about that. There are several other steps ahead that we need to go through. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Each has an individual soul, and there's something common to all the souls of Israel, like he calls. How can that fact help us in the work? Take advantage of it for the work, or how does this advance us? This common root of ours, he gives us efficiency to be connected to him to that root or in that root is. That the quality of the root. Of no any. Root, can you give an example, and how? That root works. No, okay, thank you are. Search, okay, right, no, well. Do we invite these guests these qualities specifically to the temporary dwelling? What's there that enables us to bring the guests in its estate when a person grows and therefore he can change and it's possible to influence him and change him. This is why specifically on the holiday of this is what we learn. Another question, how can it 10 examine itself that it doesn't continue to sit in a permanent dwelling, but we truly went out to that place that you can hold each other and together with all of you want to discover the higher qualities. Can we say that basically we're always trying to do this? So what's special in the matter of the temporary dwelling in the T that maybe you can feel or understand? A temporary dwelling or residence in the 10 is when I don't feel myself, that I am, that I am present in my vessels, that I am in my vessels, that's it. And it's good if we feel this way, that none of us has his own vessels, the permanent ones, the unchanging, that are built like that. It's good because then each one is willing to accept changes. Okay, yes, something is unclear to me, I want to continue. Why the matter of Stuart writes that it's joy and the matter of that delight left line, how actually in such a state of scrutiny, critique, how do we bring in the which the right side, which is like Abraham and Moses, is even room for that? He's not in the left, he's in scrutiny. What does it mean that he now brings the pH of Abraham, the quality of in? You're already asking ahead, many degrees ahead, I can't explain it. Still, okay, thank you, but keep the question. What's next? We can do X number 4. Let's do X4. It's still under the heading of the Abraham. The item number 4 from BAM. SHDI, Abraham is called the patriarch of faith, meaning then he will know that anyone who wants to come near him must first assume the discernment of right, meaning faith. Again, except number 4, Abraham is called the patriarch of faith, meaning then he will know that anyone who wants to come near him must first assume the discernment of right, meaning faith. Okay, N, what is the discernment of faith? Faith quality, this quality filling with light of how we need to ask for it. Now you're asking something else. Should we be asking, can we receive for our request? What is the light of faith that comes to us? We still need to learn in the introduction to the study of, he says that whoever obligates himself to strengthen in faith before the study, yes, is there connection between that faith that we come to the lesson with the lesson every day and this quality that he's describing here of Abraham and the discernment of faith? Not really. Oh, it's not the same. Faith, there is faith that we receive from the Creator, from our Baal, and in his faith that we can receive from the environment. Friends, the faith we need to ask for in the lesson, what is it? Usually, it is lot of in which we can receive all the other influences from the Creator and how to depict that desirable state that we're asking for. We need to pray and ask of the Creator to constantly advances toward more best, more yes forces of bestow that we will reveal by ourselves or in ourselves. Thank you. Okay, that's it. We are going to move to our social time now after our transition. We are reading in Zorfer, all volume 11. We are in the article you shall sit. In the Sukkot we are in item 136. 136 Sukkot, it is written without of in Hebrew, since this is the lower tabernacle, which is like a lantern, a glass vessel in which the candle is placed so as to shine to show all the lights. And then he said, in the spark of the you shall dwell in Sukkot for 7 days. The 7 days are from the upper world B to the lower world. Mal, all 7 days of exist so as to shine for the Sukkah, the tabernacle, which is the fallen tabernacle of David, the tabernacle of peace. Mal, and the holy people should sit under its shade in faith, and one who sits in that shade sits in those upper days of Binar. In the beginning the world was created in the Quality of judgment. Mid and mal of the first. Restriction he saw that the world did not persist, since the vessels that extend from mal of mid the quality of judgment are unfit for reception of the upper light within them he stood, and associated the quality of mercy with it, meaning rise the mal to the place of Biner, who is the measure of. Then all the degrees were split into two halves remained in and its, and fell into the goof into the body, and so it was with all of them, by that all the degrees were diminished into vac without, and this state is called the point of. Afterwards, at the time of Gmal descends from B to her own place, once more through the illumination of Absag, of her, and all the half degrees that fell from there, degrees return to their degrees, thus the degrees are completed with G once more. The state is called the point of. Sh at that time those Biner and Tum that return to their degrees raise with them the lower one that they were in while they were fallen, and thus the lower one receives the mo of the upper one. Turns out that during Biner and Tom, of which our IMA fell to Sun, and during Gadol, when Biner and T return to their degree to Biner, they takes on with them to the place of Biner. Then the zone receive the moin of Biner through the vessels of Biner and Tomb of Biner, where they were during the thus now zon are fit for reception of the upper light of Biner, as well as all the worlds be that extend from them, and then the world persists. Had it not been for Mal's ascent to the place of Biner, there would have been no possibility for the world to exist. This verse was said when the world was created, meaning when he associated the measure of with, so that the world would be able to persist, when meaning upper called up and began to come out of the place that is unknown and unseen, from when Mal rose to the place of remained with and his Biner and Tomb fell to this, to his goof. This which departed from was split into two. Her G were established in upper, and they are called, and her Z were established in and are called. Then it came out the M of that rose to and struck, bringing outside of the and that upper that were established. Aser is sparkled in this form of cat as his Biner, and Tom fell below Biner. She expanded to all sides in the upper tabernacle during the gut, when Aaron brought his Biner and Tomb back. The upper tabernacle Biner rose up to him as well, and received moin from him. Similarly, the upper tab elicited V meanings in and dinner to brought her Biner and T that fell into zon back to her. By that on received the mo of B, and dinner elicited V meaning said at that time the sparkling of the mass of the screen, which is illumination of the mass, and the dimin that was made by the ascent of Mal illuminated to everyone it illuminated, and said the which you shall dwell in Sukkot for 7 days, meaning that they would expand to the Mal, who is called Sukkot without V in Hebrew. It is considered that had it not been for the shade which implies dimin of the light, the sparkling of the M that was done in Biner, which is the fat, they would not have lasted 7 days, which are of Biner to the Sukkot, which is the, however, that shade of the sparkling of the M that has T as well. Her Mal too rose to the place of Herb and Harina, and fell to B for this reason at time of G, when she brings her Biner and back to rise on the degrees to Ort as well, and receive the moin of the 7 days. Fern her thus the root of the thatch, thus the root of the thatch is in B, and from there he says you shall dwell in Sukkot for 7 days. This is said about the upper world Biner, although that shade and F is present in Mal too, which is why she is called Seeker without, referring to that thatch of B that is found in Mal. And we're going to refresh ourselves with a clip from RAV. Please, the Book of Zohar. Basically, we don't have a greater treasure, we don't have a greater force, a source of special serious force, like the Book of Zohar, which is intended for hard time, as Sam explains there, that the Book of Zohar wouldn't be able to be revealed before the last generation, before the generation of the Messiah, before the coming of the Messiah, because it's intended specifically to bring out these A most difficult, most flawed souls that must be corrected at the end of correction toward the end of correction, which is us, our generation. Therefore, the more we relate to this book as to a special source of power that's intended for us, that was given to us 2,000 years ago for our generation, the more we prepare ourselves for it, aim ourselves so it will correct us, help us become corrected, aiming correctly, more sensitive to the higher influence. To that extent we will succeed in realizing our correction. So we really need to anticipate every moment we listen and read and feel something from this book. We anticipate revelation, redemption, and we are in item 137. This is why Sukkot is written without they, be referring to Mal. In another place it writes a full Sukkot to show that one who sits in this shade of the sparkling of the sits in those high days of above, of which stand on the lower one, which is to shine upon her and to cover her. This is so because that thatch of B was extended to her as well to protect her when she needs it. 138. They're all read as the thatch of B and the thatch of Z, and the writing of the lacking is the lower world. During those 7 holy days it is necessary to feed the rest of the appointees. This is the 70 bulls that are sacrificed on the 7 days of suck. She must be diminished in terms of the light and evoke the mo of the left, which are her posterior, from which the 70 ministers are fed while she receives gladness in her husband in MOFP. The anterior also she needs it so that they will not slander during their joy. She lets them be refined in that food, and their offerings are more numerous than on the rest of the days, so that they will be preoccupied with them and will not mingle with the joy of Israel. It is the same way that they are given apart in the hot of the beginning of a month and a he go to ours, and because of this diminution in feeding the ministers and the nation of the nations, she is called Sukkot without B. And the joy of Israel is that the 8th day of assembly marked on the 8th day of considered a festival. All 139, while the rest of the appointees are happy and eat the 70 bulls Israel are considered for them. At that time they set up a throne for the Creator from the low, and established Mal as a throne to the Creator to raise her up in 4 species in the joy of the festival, in saying Hal special praise, and encircling their altar. Then the Mal rises and receives blessing and joy in zing her husband. Let's see another reminder of intention clip with we are constantly thinking about the reforming light, the up force that will glow in us, and all of us will give us a connection between us and the ability to bestow upon the Creator, and then in return for wanting to bestow upon the Creator, we will begin to understand what is written in the said, and we are in item 140, and the rest of the animals, which are 70 ministers appointed over the peoples, eat and chew into dust, and what remains of their eating they trample with their feet, and they are fed from the 70 bulls. And Mal takes the souls and elevates them to the high pleasure. Since she comes down and grips all where blessings, the sanctities, and the pleasures that Israel extended to her on all those 7 days, all those deeds that they did and sacrificed for her. She came down to approach her children and to delight them for one day. That day is the 8th day since all of the 7 other days are with her. Hence she is the 8th, and she is 8 days together, which is why she is called or assembly, which means a collection, when all 7 days gather on that 8th day, and there is no 8th except out of 7. Hence it is given 2 names, 1 since it is the 8th to the 7 days, and 2 assembly since it contains within it all 7 days. Together we're moving to a heading, blessed be the name of the Lord. 141. Blessed be the name of the Lord. He is blessed means his beginning is hard and his end soft, since bless has the letters of undispelling, of which is soft. Meat is hard to judgment, like the beginning of the year. It is meat because the world was created in meat, or 42 letters meaning in L 32 a limb, and in 10 utterances, which are me. Bet 42 also there are me letters from the bet of it through the bt of the word and be. And the void this is why it was created. In judgment in all the beginnings are hard, and their ends are soft this is. Because me is in her on the day of the day of their assembly it is soft in. Gladness Nuker was built entirely from the left line. Her entire correction is to be included in the right tense. The of the which is me the left is still not included in the right. This is why she is hard since there is judgments of the left in her. Without right soft the end of the is already entirely mingled with on the day of the and then it is soft in. Gladness as it is written blessed be the name of the Lord, the name of the Lord which is NVA, called name will be me. The blessed me indicates the of the where it is and then it is. Heart indicates the day of the assembly, and we are in announcements to conclude our schedule for today Sunday. At noon Israel time the afternoon, lesson 6 p.m. Israel time we're here in the meal of thane of the guests are schedule for tomorrow, Monday at 2:40 a.m. preparation for the lesson at 3. The lesson at 11:20 talks about the path with Aravi, and at noon the afternoon lesson and 6 p.m. the we will conclude with the song.